fluorite is a mineral form of calcium fluoride. I'm not going to get too technical in here. I'll just say that it can be found in a multitude of colors, but the most known is the combination of a specific type of violet, pale violet, or it can be even a stronger violet, and a specific color of green, and with a lot of transparency, and sometimes it can have inclusions. The tutorial I'm going to show you today is one that is very, very simple. There are several ways that you can imitate fluorite, but I decided to show you the simplest one and the one that requires the least of materials and the least of time. So let's get started. Now, this is what you need. Normally, fluorite, when it is by itself and pure, it doesn't have any kind of sparklies. But if you want sparklies, I'll tell you exactly when to put in some glitter. So, you need about a quarter pack of translucent, as I said in the list. Some violet. The Premo violet gives the exact color that you need. And then you will need a little bit more green than cobalt blue. I tried with the ultramarine and it did not come exactly properly. So after you mix the colors really good, cut a little piece of each of the colors and then add once again exactly as much as you added when you did the full mix. Then you will make a Skinner blend, and I didn't press properly on the mouse because you need to include a strip of translucent right on top of everything. But anyway, you do your Skinner blend and then reduce the width. You will also need some powder. I am using here interference green and violet. If you don't have that, then use just white mica powder. If you don't have that, just use some chalk pastel. So first and I'm cutting just because it's easier to get little pieces. You get your darker mix into little pieces. Then cut the long strip of the Skinner blend into approximately equal sizes. You don't really have to have them exactly equal. Then arrange the darker inclusions each on each color. So the darker violet on the light violet, the darker blue-green on the darker blue, on the lighter blue-green. Then you will need a few pieces of pure translucent, untinted, and just throw them in there, just a few pieces here and there, to imitate the exact color shift that happens in fluorite crystals. And then place the pieces that you had left from making the Skinner blend kind of intruding a little bit on that almost pure translucent part that's right in the middle. And then you just get all the slices you did and just stack them up. It doesn't really matter the order, as long as you have some of those inclusion darker things in between layers. Once you have done that, then press real good to make sure that you don't have any kind of air bubbles, and start reducing the size of the stack. Make it smaller and taller. I'm going to use just once the roller. Try not to use the roller too much because you don't want lines that would be parallel appearing. That is not a natural look. Then once you have this done, then you will break with your hands a piece of the stack. Don't cut it because that does not look natural. And using a very clean paintbrush, add, so if you have the ghost interference colors, add obviously the green on green and the violet on violet. Only on one side of the break, because otherwise you will have some issues putting it together. And actually, to avoid having these issues, you might want to put the powder on one side of the break and some translucent liquid Sculpey on the other side. If you have translucent clear liquid Sculpey, that is even better. And once you have done that, and again, you don't have to use these interference colors. If you don't have them, you can use the micro pearl, or you can use just plain white chalk pastel. It will still give a fracture, crystal fracture impression. Then after you have done that, all the break-ins, and again, it is a good idea to place a little bit of translucent liquid Sculpey on one side of the break, so you won't have any more issues, because you're putting powder, and you know that raw clay with powder doesn't really adhere very good. Once you have done that, and press the stack back together, let it sit for a few minutes. Remember the thing with the translucent liquid getting a little bit thicker and adhering better. And after that, get a paper towel and some alcohol and clean not just your working surface, but also your fingers as well as the stack, because believe me, you will have some contamination from that powder. And you don't want that to happen. If you want to add glitter, you add it exactly when you add the powders in the breaks, because that would be where the inclusions would appear. But again, as I said, the fluorite by itself does not have any kind of sparkly things. When it has inclusions, it can have all kinds of inclusion, you know, pyrite and other things. And I suggest you use silver glitter, not golden glitter, because there are no real golden inclusions in fluorite. I am using here just the plain cabochon mold of Sculpey, and I cut a slice of the stack that is almost the size of that cabochon mold I'm using. And then I'm gently pressing it to be about the size of the cabochon, and then using the roller to make sure that it's all going inside and I will not have any air bubbles between the clay and the mold itself. And then I will use the flexible blade to cut the excess exactly like in a satin slice, to make sure that I have the back of the cabochon perfectly straight. And then once that is done, all you have to do is to bake it. I would suggest, because we are talking translucent here, to bake it for about 45 minutes. And then I normally leave it in the freezer, and then I just sand it. And here I have put some Kato PolyClay, because you know I don't have a buffer and I cannot use a buffer properly. But it is very transparent, of course, if you don't use a very thick cabochon, and it looks very realistic. So happy claying!